Welcome back to KOT and Late Night Kings of the North here. One quarterfinal is done. Lesmerises and Bill Landis. It's not quite done, but it's almost done. It's basically done. We thought, Landis, we were exchanging messages with like 3 minutes left in the first quarter. I think you said, should we go live now? Because this thing looked like it was over. Because Penn State was a rolling Boise State, handling them in the trenches on both sides of it. And it looked like it was going to be a long night. Tip of the cap to Boise State for fighting. Go hang this banner. Go hang this banner. You made the playoff and you fought your butts off, and absolute tip of the cap to the Broncos for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really thought we were cruising for a steamrolling there, and we didn't get that. Thankfully, I mean, it was in the balance and fairly, I guess, entertaining is the right word. I don't know, it was a little sloppy at times. Referees, I think, had a role to play in that with all the penalty flags they were throwing. But I'm glad we didn't get an absolute throttling. Even 31-14, maybe it was a little closer than that. We look at some of the production in terms of total yards and stuff, but Penn State's going to ice it here with a interception for a 31-14 final.
Total yards, Boise State has more. 412 to 388. 412 to 388 as we speak right now. So I actually we said we just want to do maybe 25 minutes and get out of here so people can go have New Year's Eve. I got so many thoughts about this. I got so many Penn State thoughts, but we also have time. Penn State is advancing to the Orange Bowl on January 9th against the Notre Dame-Georgia winner. 7:30 Eastern on January 9th. January 10th, the Cotton Bowl, Texas-Arizona State winner versus Oregon-Ohio State winner. You'll be at the Cotton Bowl. I'll be at the Orange Bowl. Can I give you we've learned a lesson here. You win, you get tips of the cap. It's the best Penn State season in 30 years, brother. That ain't nothing.
It ain't nothing. And this is we talked, it was weird, Penn State getting the path that it got in this playoff. It felt like it put unexpected pressure on James Franklin to really perform in the first round in the quarterfinals, having to face SMU and Boise State. And Penn State didn't play perfectly in either game, but it was pretty impressive. I think the way they just kind of handled what should be kind of overmatched opponents for them. So yeah, best season in 30 years, and it's not over yet.
So that's going back to the 12-0 season in 1994 when they did not win the national title, but had a national title worthy team. Only one loss in 2005, finished number 3 then. But this is it, what you're doing here. I've told this story. I was on a cruise this summer. I'm in the back room because we're getting ready to play the newlywed game. It's hey, you get a free drink. What do you do? What do you do? Hey, I'm a college football guy. I'm a Penn State fan. I start explaining the theory that I think we've talked about a million times that everybody said. Penn State's the ultimate team to benefit from the 12-team playoff. Newlywed game guy on the cruise, Penn State fan is yeah, they'll probably make it and lose in the first round. They're in the semis. On a large level, I don't care who Penn State had to beat. I also just tweeted I would love college football to embrace a Final Four mentality. James Franklin's going to the Final Four. When Mike Krzyzewski retired at Duke, they didn't just say how many national championships he won. They said how many Final Fours he had. We have to find a way to do this in college football. It's going to be hard. James Franklin made a Final Four, man. Again, and when Mike Krzyzewski makes the Final Four, they don't say, oh, well, you only had to beat a 13 seed in the round of 16. You made a Final Four. This is a huge accomplishment for Penn State. I thought the win at home over SMU was propulsive and maybe gave them a new kind of confidence. This is the next step in that. Gigantic.
That's interesting too, that the embrace, because I don't think we ever really embraced the Final Four mentality when we had the 4-team playoff, right? I don't know the coaches were discussed that way. Yeah.
I don't think
that's a new way to
either.
Think about it. Yeah,
but I think maybe winning your way into the Final Four.
Yeah, no, I think
makes
you're right.
It mean more.
I think it is different. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is different. Yeah.
So I wanna say that. So here's the other thing I want to say. So it's best season since 1994. They made the Final Four. Abdul Carter on their own network. Abdul Carter is the number 2 player on Mel Kiper's big board, the 2025 NFL draft. I thought the broadcast was kind of yeah, I guess Abdul Carter's not playing anymore. They didn't get any information about it. I can't imagine if the number 2 player in the country for Georgia was out for the entire game. I think they would have made a bigger deal about it. This does not, we'll get to some of the things Penn State could have done better. It does not excuse anything. By the way, your guy, Amin Vanover, what's up? Like, what? Like, it's like, oh, by the way, that is a gigantic thing to overcome for 3 quarters. The number 2 prospect in the draft just didn't play, and they never went back. I tried to go back and find what might have happened. They didn't ever really do that, did they?
No. So I wanted to ask you that. So I was watching this game, most of this game anyway, like down in the media lounge here at the Rose Bowl. So there's a million people in there. I don't have the ability to like go back and rewind and look at stuff, but I know you were. So like, what did you think you saw happen there to him?
Well, let me break this down for the world, since ESPN
didn't do it.
Didn't bother to. So he had not played maybe in like 5 or 7 plays before he was back in, and then had the play where he was in there. He didn't really participate in the play, and then he pointed to, I have another point I got to make. What's till you hear the next point. And then he pointed to like his left arm and waved to come out of the game. But he was not hurt on that play. He didn't really do anything on that play. He had come back in, I think, to see if he could go. And he very quickly realized, I can't go. I can't do anything. So then I went back and I tried to find it. It happened a little bit off the side of the screen, but it was almost like a drive, like maybe 2 drives previous. There was a play where they got pressure on Maddox Madsen, and he got flushed out. And you could see on the edge of the screen at the end of the play, one of the Boise offensive linemen blocked him and fell on top of him. And I think it must have happened there. But from the camera angle that they showed, you couldn't see if it got twisted. Did his left arm get pinned weird? Bob Flounders, great friend who covers Penn State, does a great job for PennLive.com, tweeted during the game that it was his left arm, left shoulder, and he looked like he was in pain. Bob's there at the Fiesta Bowl. He's looking through binoculars trying to find this. Since ESPN shirked the responsibility of this, we thought he might be the most influential player in the playoff. And they were just like, whoop, whatever, bro. I guess he's not going to play anymore. Like, they kept acknowledging it and providing no information. I don't know if Penn State's so locked down they don't say anything or whatever. But as soon as Ahmed Hassanin got hurt for Boise State, they were like, this is exactly what happened to him. And I was like, Abdul Carter can't move. What is going on?
They didn't have enough cameras there. That they couldn't catch it. Yeah. So
like if people, we got you in the chat, folks, right? We got you in the chat. Now I'm looking in the chat. Hey, ESPN, how do you like the Big Ten now? Wait till I see the thing I'm going to say. If you get information, we're not going to be able to maybe monitor every bit of the postgame. I'm sure James Franklin's going to be asked about this. This is a huge story going forward of whether Abdul Carter can play in the semis or not.
Yeah. Also, did Dennis Sutton walked off at the end of the game too? I don't know. Did they say anything about that? I didn't have the volume on.
They were too busy not saying anything about Abdul Carter to not say anything about Dennis Sutton. And then Jalen Reed left too. It's like, oh, what happened?
He did.
Oh, Penn State's 3 best defensive players left the game. Yeah. Okay. Good luck to them. Ashton Genty's really good, which he is, but sometimes TV broadcasts get focused on one thing and they're like, hey, what's kind of the thing for this game? And they're like, have you guys heard of Ashton Genty? He's very good. Yeah. So can I say the other thing that I'm so excited to say?
Please.
Penn State's the 3rd best team in the Big Ten. That's not a slap at Penn State. They lost to Oregon and they lost to Ohio State head-to-head. Now, they made the Big Ten title game, but head-to-head, they lost to Ohio State. So I don't feel bad saying Penn State's the 3rd best team in the Big Ten. Like, maybe they'll play Ohio State again and beat them. But, is that okay to say right now? Do you think that's a fair thing to say?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Penn State actually is the team that the SEC was trying to act like Tennessee or Alabama or Ole Miss or South Carolina was and never were. They were never this. But what this is a 3rd best team in a conference that can play with anybody. This is conference depth. Tennessee's the 3rd best team in the SEC this year. Are you kidding me? And I know the path. I know. Are you kidding me? Do you see? I have another thing to say about Penn State. Do you see what Penn State has and what Penn State does? I get it. But we're not only going to get bogged down in SMU and Boise State. That's for Feinbaum. Feinbaum, should he go off the air? What is left?
Take a lap.
The whole world imploded. Brett Bielema shoved Shane Beamer in a trash can today. Kalen DeBoer might get fired before he gets back to Tuscaloosa. That conference is on fire from top to bottom, and the third best team in the Big Ten is in the semifinals. And the only reason now I'm officially I think it's kind of cool that Oregon and Ohio State are playing in the Rose Bowl, but it also would be cool for the Big Ten to have 3 in the Final Four, which now they can't have.
Yeah. That would be cool. They can't have it, unfortunately.
How's your show, Paul?
Yeah. I'm happy. I'm happy for what's happening for the show. But if there were 3 Big Ten teams in the semifinals, well, I guess we could still get a version of that if Notre Dame beats Georgia.
No, because here's the thing that you're gonna say is you'd be insufferable, but I am insufferable. Like I'm there.
There'd be no reeling you back in. Yeah.
No. I mean, there isn't anyway. So, so I just think, like, again, for this, can you imagine if the third best SEC team was like smoothly into the semis, what they'd be saying down there? They got nothing to say. Here's another thing. Can I say another thing I want to say? I have so many things I want to say. This is a thing that I think needs to be said about Penn State. We said all the positive. We did 11 minutes of positivity. I think Penn State has everything it needs. We let them out into the wild. And sometimes we had only viewed Penn State through the lens of Ohio State and sometimes Michigan. And we let them out into the wild. And so far, against SMU and Boise State, I know. But even they look good against Oregon. So far, they have everything they need. They have a real quarterback. They have 2 excellent backs. They have a physical offensive line. They have a game breaker. Just pretend Ty Warren, he's a pass catcher. Just pretend he has more receptions than anybody in Penn State history in a single season. Just pretend he's a receiver. Like Trey Wallace made a play. They got Omari Evans deep in this game. And then defensively, playmakers at all 3 levels. Kobe King was like tracking Ashton Genty down, forced a fumble on the sideline. Great play. Abdul Carter gets hurt. Amin Vanover comes in. Jalen Reed, they always have great safeties. The Key Wheatley, great read. That's exactly how you play center field in a single high safety look. They have everything they need, and they often feel like they are less than the sum of their parts. Because you can go through them and be like, they got everything they need. They can run it on Boise whenever they want to. They can throw it on Boise whenever they want to. They are attacking Ashton Genty. Why does this feel like this game is about to slip away from them? And it is something they have to work on. But I think sometimes we thought Penn State doesn't have enough. I think Penn State has a lot. James, there's a little bit like you've got to mold it into a way that equals more points and more dominance, because they put dudes out there, man.
They have talent. I haven't questioned that for a while, because even the thing you would have questioned probably for like the first half of James Franklin's tenure is offensive line, and boy, it seems like they got that figured out. This offensive line now for the second game in a row really was out there moving people. So I'm with you that they have just about everything they need from a talent perspective. I might hesitate still on the receiver stuff, but it's not like it's god awful, so it's like it's passable at times. They just have a undisciplined streak that I think like doesn't do them any good sometimes, like whether it's penalties, and like this game both teams are penalized a lot, so maybe that doesn't make a huge difference, but that was part of the reason why I was expressing some mild concern about like their ability to tackle well enough to rein Ashton Genty in. And they did. Like I don't have anything that tracks live tackles, but they did a nice job of really stacking the box and gang tackling Ashton Genty, and he was making guys miss, but they never really let him get out for anything like super loose or explosive. But that stuff shows up with Penn State from time to time. They have all the pieces they need. I don't know if they have I don't know what it is. Like it's not a culture thing either. I don't think it's just like a in the moment killer instinct resolve kind of thing that I don't know,
step on your neck.
Yeah. Like I don't, but also too, like, especially in some of the games against Ohio State, there's a little bit of conservatism or conservativeness from James Franklin that you get a little worried about too. I think he's trying to break that mold. And seems like he has. Like we talked about it at the SMU game. Maybe he's trying a little too hard to break that at times, but it's not perfect. They are an imperfect team because of some of the more intangible stuff. But on the field, talent, dudes, I think they do have it.
Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, 29 carries for 221 yards. Mamacita. That's a lot of carries. I mean, and that's a lot of production. So like I'm going to say it for the last time. They played SMU and Boise State. They can only play the teams that they were asked to play. Like I'm not going to caveat Penn State all the way into the semifinals. The seeding is the way they prescribed it. It's going to change by next year. I guarantee a team like Boise State will not be the 3 seed next year, but it just happened this way. They did it when the Pac-12 still existed, when the Big 12 still had Texas and Oklahoma. And if that was the case, it would make much more sense. But you can't have 15 of the best 20 programs in the country in 2 conferences and be handing out buys to 4 conferences. It doesn't make sense. They're not going to do it anymore. And so this would not have happened. But it is what happened now. And a lot of it is like, hey, why change something before you even try it? So they tried it like this, and it wasn't perfect. So I get this. Maddox Madsen, I was like, he's the worst quarterback in the playoff. Did you see Kate Klubnik coming back to Clemson, by the way?
I did. Yeah.
Clemson's
going to be trendy next year.
Mohamed Toure coming back to Rutgers, by the way. I missed that too. It's like he was all North last year, first team. Maddox Madsen balled out a little bit. Like Maddox Madsen, 23 of 35 for 304. 3 picks. The one does Akee Wheatley. It's like if they don't push that down the field there and maybe try to get 10 yards and kick a field goal like they were a little off kilter. Also, by the way, their kicker missed 2. A little off kilter, but he kept them in the game, and he hit the kind of things that you have to do when they're going to put 8 guys in the box, which is hit a bunch of quick slants, get one-on-one leverage, and beat guys. And he put the ball where he needed to put it. A lot of the game, tip of the ball cap to Maddox Madsen.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good over the middle of the field. It was when they tried to push it, when it got a little hairy. They get that long passing touchdown on that broken. I don't even know what that was. It just kind of seemed like a normal play action pass, maybe like a little bit of a tight end delay, and somehow Penn State completely lost them. I think to the point of what we're talking about. Like sometimes there's just some mental
high
slippage.
Safety, the receiver route pulled the safety, and the linebacker got pulled up by the play action and let him go. And it's like, that was too.
But I thought Madsen, in the face of pretty consistent pressure too, delivered some nice passes over the middle of the field. It wasn't like they were in the middle of the game, like probably second quarter, third quarter. And I felt this when I was watching the Big Ten championship game too. It felt like Penn State was allowing a lot of space for pass catchers sometimes in the middle of the field. And maybe in this game, a
trade-off.
Yeah, I think in this game it's a trade-off. Yes, I think in this game it's a trade-off for sure. And it's not like the yards or whatever. It's like I don't honestly care about yards. Like they didn't score touchdowns, so get all the yards you want. If you're not scoring points, then I don't particularly care about it. So like 304 through the air for Maddox Madsen doesn't look great, but I think that's part trade-off. That's part game state. And it's part like Maddox Madsen playing pretty well. But I don't know that I was like, oh boy, this Penn State defense is a little fraudulent because Boise found a way to throw the ball on them some.
No, I thought.
Also, 35 pass attempts to get 300 yards is like,
right.
That's fine. Yeah.
Genty, 30 carries for 104, 3.5 yard average. There were times when he broke 5 tackles, but they had 6 guys there. He broke 2 tackles, but they had 3 guys there. Like, I think they did a good job of getting multiple hats to the ball. He's still a dude. This is how much to you? You voted for him to win the Heisman, right?
I did. And like I know my logic on it might have been a little flawed. I think Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty were both highly deserving of winning the Heisman Trophy, and I have no issue with anybody picking Travis Hunter. But part of the reason why I leaned Ashton Genty a little bit is because I don't like that we vote on the Heisman when we vote on it, and I didn't want to watch Ashton Genty have a good playoff performance and then regret not voting for him. And like maybe that is like admittedly a little flawed, but like I thought the arguments were close enough that I was comfortable letting that guide me a little bit. But obviously, Penn State did a really nice job of shutting him down.
Yeah, I get that. Like tiebreaker goes to the guy in the playoff when 12 teams make it. It's not a bad way to think about it either. I thought a little bit of it. It's just like, Are you facing Penn State's defense every week? No, in the Mountain West, you're not. And again, now we're getting into a schedule strength thing. It's like I want to, just like a lot of, sometimes I want to apply a schedule strength argument to things. Sometimes I don't want that to be the number one thing that we're talking about when we're talking about teams. But I did think a little bit of that showed up tonight. He's still an amazing individual player, but Penn State had a good game plan. Tom Allen was, I was just going to put 8 guys in the box and rally to the ball and let them throw it. And I thought that was the right. I mean, it was clearly the right approach. Didn't you think so?
Yeah. And I don't know that anyone's ever worked harder to get 104 rushing yards.
Yes.
He was hit behind the line a lot and didn't, so he had 30 carries. I felt like he was getting hit behind the line a ton. Yep. But the stuff rate was only 20%. So eight of Boise's entire 30 or entire rushing output. So, but most of it's Genty. It's like, if there were 8, there could have been 15 or maybe even more than that, if not for Genty falling forward, breaking that initial tackle. So like he ran really hard. He played well. It's just like too many athletes, too many bodies around him.
Do you want to do a 90-second Bret Bielema interlude before we get to the other main Penn State point I want to make?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question too relative to this game. But let's talk about Bert.
I tweeted it. I'm going to call him Bret. But he's also Bert. He's both. He's Bret and he's Bert. Sometimes
he was Bert today.
When he's nice, he's Bret. Actually, I like Bert. I want Bert up here. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
He's a jackhole. The North needs jackholes. Southern college football is filled with jackholes. So can we have one? Like, is that okay? Can we have one guy who's kind of rubbing it in, and then he's giving the explanation after the game of like what he was doing with his arms, and it's like, good excuse. That is not what you were doing there. We know what you were doing. Shane Beamer, I thought Shane Beamer, when he got interviewed, like between the first and second quarter, I thought he was going to cry about the officiating. Didn't you think he had a I'm going to cry face on? And then they had 12 guys on the field, and it's just not fair. And I think Bret Bielema saw that and was like, I'm going to taunt you.
He's gonna bully him.
Yeah. Can we have a bully?
We don't.
Can we have one? Yeah. Can the North have one bully? Is that okay with everybody?
One. I think one's fine.
Yeah. One. Just like, right? Can we have one show host who wears a Paul Feinbaum bald cap? You don't want two. But can you have one? I relate to this guy. Be a jerk. We need this. We need people to stand up for us. And again, he is, we already made him a number on the cramometer. He is the cramometer. Like, that would, if we're just like one, like we buy a cramometer and it's like sitting in the corner and the cramometer comes to life. It's Bret Bielema. He's the cramometer come to life.
We have to get him on the show whether it's like in the spring, if we can go to Champaign, or at Big Ten Media Days, we have to have him on.
We're just going to go sit outside his house until he talks to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. So like we get like there is room for different people in the world, and we need at least one of these guys up here. Bring your Penn State point.
It's not a point. I wanted to ask you, did this game do anything for you in the rest versus rust conversation, or is the talent discrepancy too great between these two teams and it's like not the best test subject for that? Because I thought Penn State obviously looked pretty ready to go from the jump, and it took Boise a little bit to settle into the game.
I will say, like, Penn State didn't look tired. Penn State didn't look worn down by having to play an extra game in here. You know, like a physical extra game against Oregon that didn't really get them anything. Right? Because you lose it, and what do you get out of it? I think it's still more, did you think, so I'll answer your question with a question. The conversation we had about Indiana and the JMU and MAC guys, SMU recruiting a G5 roster. This is literally a G5 team. How much did you think that showed up?
It showed up, yeah. Because even like it showed up on the line of scrimmage, I think.
Yes.
Because Boise is a team that was generating a decent amount of pressure and bothering quarterbacks and getting sacks, and I don't know that I felt that a whole lot. And then obviously in the run game, Penn State was steamrolling them. So I thought it definitely showed up, and I think it showed up too. Even like Penn State's skill guys who have not popped all year managed to have a couple of big plays in this game on the outside too. So I think it was definitely a factor.
It's just funny how this stuff works out. Steven's in the comments saying Penn State matches up favorably, in his opinion, until the finals, where they might play a team that they lost to by 7 because they had a goal line stand, and where they lost to a team that they hung in with and ran the ball on in the second half. Like, again, they're not as good as Ohio State or Oregon. I don't think they have a puncher's chance. I mean, like, that would be if that's who they wind up against. And again, against Notre Dame. And let me ask you this about, now we're just going to ask each other questions. Ask each other questions instead of analyzing the game. I was trying to think of a team maybe to compare Penn State to. I don't love this comparison. It's not as close as I thought. 2022 Georgia, that is quite good defense, not generational. A quarterback who can, right at the right time, this is a Stetson Bennett. I'm in New Orleans, and I'm not afraid to be who I am when I am in the South on New Year's Eve, ringing in a 2025 with my Georgia Bulldogs. I'm honored to have the great Drew Aller, the Northern Stetson Bennett, compared to me. And I believe that Drew can lead the Nittany Lions to the promised land, much like I can't do it twice. I did it twice, but he could do it once. Might be a debut on this show. That's right. Get me down here. My head is so sweaty right now. But like, they didn't have a gazillion skill guys. They had a couple good backs that year, Dejon Edwards and Kenny McIntosh. Like, they had Brock Bowers, Ty Warren's Brock Bowers. They still had Ladd McConkey, so they don't quite have that. But it was like, it's a really good defense, but that team is led more by the offense than you realize. And the quarterback is not the world's greatest quarterback, but man, sometimes that guy makes some really good plays. I don't know. It's a stretch, but I was trying to think of like who this Penn State team could be.
I don't hate the comparison. Because even like that Georgia offense, that who was the OC before Bobo? His name is
Todd Monken.
Todd Monken. It was like
really good.
Not a ton of pieces on offense, but like Monken's going to scheme this up a little bit, right? And I think you have that. Kotelnicki, a little loose sometimes. Like we don't.
That's the next topic. We got to talk about that.
But I think I don't hate the comparison for 2022 Georgia.
Look at that. Look how much of that bald is actually me. Look at that. This is what's coming someday. Now I just look like I'm at the hair salon. All right. My head is so sweaty. Andy Kotelnicki is a huge part of Penn State's success. They brought him in because they wanted to be more explosive. His creativity is a fundamental part of who Penn State is. Mm-hmm. I think Andy Kotelnicki is the kind of guy who has operated for much of his life trying to elevate things, right? And it's the difference of like, if you don't necessarily have everything, do you want to elevate it? I think they might be in a little bit of conflict now, because when you're elevating, you have to take risks. This is the spread offense was begun by programs that didn't have the talent to match up physically. So they had small, fast guys that spread it out. And then all of a sudden, the big, fast guys started doing the same thing. But Joe Tiller at Purdue, why is he doing that? Why did he come from Wyoming to do that at Purdue? Because they're trying to find a way to win. Why does Rich Rod doing that? They're trying to find a way to win. Pat White's not an NFL quarterback, but let him go in that system, right? Okay. I think there was conflict in this game because actually in this setup where Penn State is dominating in the trenches and Katron Allen and Nick Singleton are running over people, this was a let your talent dominate. But they kind of got here and had lived in a world where Andy Kotelnicki's creativity is primary. So this is always my main thing in life, Landis. You can't cut people into pieces. And often the thing that you love about a person is the same thing that you hate. And you can't only cut out the part you hate because it's the same thing. So when everybody on Twitter was saying Andy Kotelnicki got too cute, he got here by being cute. Penn State made it this far by being cute. They have their quarterback play running back and their tight end play quarterback and their backup quarterback and starting quarterback on the field at the same time. They're nuts. This wasn't the game to be nuts because they were running over people. But you understand why maybe they got lost a little bit. So just be like, Andy Kotelnicki got too cute. It's like, well, didn't you kind of like the cuteness when they ran Tyler Warren down the seam on a double quarterback pass to beat USC? Did you like the cuteness then? So
I like, but I've had an issue with this all year because yes, that play was cool, but like when they tried to do it against Oregon in the Big Ten championship and it didn't work, it wasn't cool. I think
do you think
they're
talented enough on offense? Are they talented enough on offense against really good defenses to do it without being cute?
I don't mind a sprinkle of cuteness. I think they do it too much.
Again, I'm coming at this from a perspective of a man who wore a bald cap for 9 minutes when I should have worn it for 40 seconds, right? It's hard to sprinkle when it's so much about who you are. I think they'll adjust off of this. Right now, the other thing is they probably do need to be cute. Do you think Penn State needs a decent chunk of cuteness against the Notre Dame defense or the Georgia defense compared to the Boise State defense and the SMU defense?
I think so. Like I'm not saying like eliminate it entirely. Maybe I'm more saying like time and place. Because I think that's more the issue than anything. It's not that they do it. It's kind of when they do it. You know, you can do it and it can look like it looked at on that touchdown pass against USC that you're referencing. But I like the play they ran in this game where they had Tyler Warren under center and then he pitched the ball back to Drew Aller and like the play went nowhere. And it's just like, well, that really seemed like it stymied some momentum for you. So like that's more of what I'm saying. It's like maybe just because you have it and just because you practice it doesn't mean you need to run it if the game is telling you don't have to. I think is maybe my main issue with it.
But much of, and our friend Shahan Jeharaja tweeted this during the game, much of last year, all we were asking was for them to let Drew Aller blossom a little bit. And they lost to Penn State in Ohio Stadium because they put Drew Aller in a straitjacket for 50 minutes. And then they got down 2 scores and he let a touchdown drive at the end. So this is like a new thing. Too cute James Franklin is kind of a new thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, he's learning how to exist in this new world where creativity and aggression are allowed to rule the day.
Yeah, but so you're coming out of the shoebox. So you've got to get out of the shoebox. So if you get out and then you're running around naked because you've been living in a shoebox for 10 years, it's like, okay, we want you to run around. Just put some clothes on. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I feel like they're at that stage, but they wouldn't be here because what Shahan tweeted is like, what were they doing to Drew Aller last year? How are we just seeing this now? It's like, well, what they were doing to Drew Aller last year is being like, don't throw a pick. Whatever you do, future first-round quarterback, the worst thing you can do is throw a pick. So never try to make a play. And then they were like, hey, look at this interceptionless streak. And by the way, we try to win 17-13 every game when we finally have a 5-star quarterback. That's not where they are right now. So I'll take this. I'll take too cute as opposed to no explosion and no creativity. So that doesn't have to be the choice, but if it is the choice, I know which way I'm leaning.
Yeah, and I guess I get that. Part of me just thinks they're maybe a little too good to try to do some of that stuff.
What a great spot for Penn State to be. You're too good to be cute. That's a great conversation for them to have over the next 10 days, and probably needs to be had. But what an accomplishment. Because often they're not good enough. They're neither cute nor good enough. Now they're both.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So chill out. Right. So like, I'm okay with it. Drew Aller point. There's still something more in there. I thought that the play of the game today, they come out on the first drive and there's some of the stuff, even like I thought the worst cuteness thing was the 3rd and 1 where they, instead of just handing it off and letting somebody hammer, they ran like play action and rolled Aller out. Then he threw back across his body over the middle of the field. I actually thought he had Ty Warren. If he throws it quick in the flat, I think he had him and he didn't throw it. But I thought the worst situation of this was 3rd down on the first drive of the second half. Boise State somehow forgets to cover Tyler Warren. He's wide open down the middle of the field and Aller misses him. Now, in those situations, you have a great quarterback and a great tight end. He should have put it right on his numbers. He didn't. He threw it high. Warren still could have caught it. Go catch that. That was a tremendous miss. They could have kind of ended the game right there. You cannot miss that. If you miss that throw where they forget to cover Ty Warren on 3rd down against Notre Dame or Georgia, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
You can't miss that throw. That is a step on your neck. We drove and scored a touchdown on the first drive of the second half kind of play, and they missed it. And that's still in them too. This is where the sum of the parts is less than the pieces. That it's stuff like that makes me think that. And then they come back later in that second half and he throws the high point ball to Warren in the end zone, and the guy looks like he's Travis Kelce, and Aller's putting the ball, drifting in the pocket to create a little more time. Kaytron Allen picks up the blitz. It's like, well, that's perfect offense. So they have that in them too. Aller in this game, 13 of 25, 171, 3 touchdowns, but you can go back, like you can think to yourself, like 5 awesome plays, really good scramble on that 1 3rd down after they're the blitzing the heck out of him, like really good read. I think there is like a myth-making game in Drew Aller. He has 2 more chances at the most to do it. I think there is like a 26 of 31 for 353 in Drew Aller. And man, I think they could use it in the semifinal. Because like he's better than his stats. Because people like if he goes to the draft, he's the 3rd best quarterback. And then you look at the stats, it's like he completed 13 passes for 171 yards.
He misses too many layups, I think.
Yep.
He's like, I'm not a quarterback expert, like guru or whatever. I'm just a man who watches football. Something has happened in the last 10 years with the emergence of Patrick Mahomes that every quarterback thinks they don't have to have their feet under them when they throw the ball. And sometimes it looks really cool, and sometimes you miss wide open receivers. And I think Drew Aller is still trying to figure that out. And he's not the only. I think the same thing with Dylan Raiola, who's a much younger quarterback, and there are other guys around the country.
I think the same thing with Quinn Ewers.
Quinn Ewers, yeah, it's just like, they're giving you a layup. You got to go make it. Like it's great. The dunk was awesome. The step back 3 with a hand in your face, great. Make the layup, and then you're going to get your 26 or 30 or whatever you're talking about. But I think Drew Aller's athleticism in the pocket, extending plays, slipping past sacks, scrambling a little bit, being more involved in the run game, like it feels like that is continuing to blossom over these last couple of games. So I like that a lot. He's just got to get a little more polish as a passer, and if he does, there's a ton of potential still there for him to tap into.
Yeah. Okay. It's a really good win for Penn State. They're in the Final Four. That is a huge accomplishment. We're excited that we're going to be guaranteed a Northern power in each of the semis, because we have Penn State, and we're going to get either Oregon or Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, and that's going to be great. This could have been more impressive, but also there's a version of prior James Franklin teams that lets this thing slip away. Because the thing that felt dangerous about this is when you're only up 2 scores, if they would have gotten to a 1-score game with Boise State, a 1-score game is like a no-score game when Boise State has the ball, because Ashton Jeanty can score anytime he touches the ball. And if you would have allowed yourself to get in that situation, and then missing a field goal really helped, right? They make a 38-yard. If Boise makes a 38-yard field goal, Penn State would have been in that situation. They would have been in a 7-point game. And it's like, oh my God, we're on the precipice now against this maniac, because Ashton Jeanty's a maniac. That jump cut that they showed, it was like, that's like running back teaching tape, right? It's like, oh, here's a 300-pound guy diving at your ankles, jump cut for a 20-yard run.
Because you mentioned teach tape, Nick Singleton's touchdown run.
Oh, let's go. Okay. I forgot we were going to do this. This is Landis time. I'll sit back. Oh, baby, they blocked it up.
No, we don't. Yeah, we don't have to spend 5 minutes on it, but it was you can't block counter better than Penn State blocked it on that play. And the tackle was Drew Shelton. So Shelton was on the play side, and he like blocked down and then climbed up to get the middle linebacker, I think. And then it was Nolan Rucci who pulled around and just like crushed the end man on the line of scrimmage that ended up popping into his face. And then Nick Singleton made a nice cut around, I think it was the Shelton block, to get loose and get down the field. But all 5, man, and Khalil, I think it was Khalil Dinkins was in there too as a tight end. Like all 6 guys involved in that blocking scheme just like executed perfectly. It was a chef's kiss kind of run. It was great.
Yeah. And they had a 50-yard run earlier in the game that they hit, and they created a great crease. And then Kaytron Allen ran over the safety, over like 2 goats. You ever go to the petting zoo and the goats are just banging their heads together? 2 goats, and the Boise goat got knocked backward, and then he ran through 2 more arm tackles, and then it turned out that Sal Wormley held a guy, kind of. Did you think they were a little ticky-tack on some of the offensive line calls?
Yeah, I thought so. I thought they were just kind of like what were there 20-something penalties in this game? 23. That's a lot. I don't know that all of them needed to be called.
Yeah. So there's a discussion in the chat. Drew Aller has declared that he's staying. He did it in an announcement, and I think it's part of why Bo Perbula transferred. But he can change his mind. So like that's he's saying it now. And then everybody is saying like, yeah, but what if you're awesome? And I'll go back to Mike Conley, Ohio State basketball. I asked him in the locker room after Ohio State lost in the national championship game, are you coming back? And he's like, yeah, I'm definitely coming back. And then in the next 2 weeks, he realized he was going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL, in the NBA draft. He's like, nope, I'm not coming back. And he was the number 4 pick in the draft. If Drew Aller has the game if Drew Aller goes 26 of 31 for 323 yards in the semifinal, that might be it. It's one of the things. It's like, hey, Drew, can you be good enough to win us a national championship, but not too good to leave? Yeah. That is a hard needle to thread. So they might just have to take the Final Four appearance with the guy who's gotten him this far. If he explodes, he can change his mind. That's all that people are talking about right now. So he said it. He said it in a graphic. And there's a difference between just saying something. Have you ever said anything in a graphic?
No, I'm not important enough for that.
Yeah, someday, God, wouldn't that be great? And if someone made a graphic of something we said. So in the meantime, so that's the conversation around Drew Aller right now. Good win for Penn State, man. Anything else you got?
Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, is it New Year in 9 minutes?
It's 9 minutes on the East Coast. Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles. I got 3 more hours till midnight. But
yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go out on Bourbon Street and get in a fight with a Georgia fan. Okay. Oh, I'll wear my bald cap for New Year's. Paul Feinbaum is here, I guess. Paul Feinbaum is here. He hasn't been hanging out in the media room because I guess when you wear a suit all the time, that's not what you do. But I'll see him at the game. Say hello. Yeah. Thanks to our producer, Mike Kurosowski. Thanks to you guys for spending the end of 2024 with us. What a freaking year, Landis. This sport, this has been so fun because the North has risen up and the South has fallen apart, and we have a community of Northern fans who care about these kind of things. So you guys make it fun. Thanks for being here. We're going to do this for 9 hours on Wednesday night because we'll have 3 playoff games to talk about then. So it's going to be much later. It's going to be after midnight for sure because that Sugar Bowl is not starting until like an hour and 15 minutes later than this game started. So we'll see you there. For now, couldn't appreciate you guys more. It's been an awesome 2024. Everybody stay safe and have a good time. Thanks for spending the end of this year with us. We'll see you in 2025. He's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises, and that was Kings of the North.